Hello friends, hope you are doing very well. My kitchen got flooded this morning and I am not. Welcome to this week's Day Report, everything tech and telco from all around Australia. Interesting statistics of this show actually. It has been 3 years since the first episode, give or take a few months and also give or take a few naming conventions. So to celebrate, we're going to do another episode. Without further disappointment, let's see what we have in store for today's show. Major online service outage across banking, New South Wales exchanges upgraded by our most beloved RSP, ACCC regulation roundtable for the NBN document released, what price changes are in store. On the tidbits, which are not international today, we have Telstra acquires a new company and a Perth telco raises a cool $20 million to get gamers more speeds. Thanks for jumping into this video. Make sure to like it if you did and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this and support us in the future. Gotta keep that Google algorithm in check. Also, if you haven't already, check out the Nielsen NBN research panel. You may remember them from such hits as TV watching and your radio listening habits. This time around, get rewarded with points for sharing your NBN speeds by joining the NBN research panel. You can turn those points into vouchers for places like Amazon and Bunnings. Links below for more details. Let's roll the intro and get started. This week, and actually the week before, Australia and many other parts of the world experienced an online outage, putting into question why do we trust AWS to host literally everything. This time around, it was the banks who had to deal with an outage. Internet services and payment terminals went offline. Why, you may ask? Well, it was a DDoS mitigation service that went haywire. You were the chosen one! Quick recap, what is actually a DDoS attack? Well, it stands for Distributed Denial of Service Attack. It is when an attacker or attackers attempt to make it impossible for a service to be delivered. This can be achieved by thwarting access to virtually anything: service, devices, services, networks, applications, and even specific transactions within an application. In a DOS attack, it's one system that is sending the malicious data or requests. In a DDoS attack, it comes from multiple systems. Generally, these attacks work by drowning a system with requests for that data. This could be sending a web server so many requests to a page that it crashes under the demand, or it could be a database being hit with a high volume of queries. The result is available internet bandwidth, CPU and RAM capacity becoming overwhelmed. Generally, it's a pretty good way to take down a website. What happened here is a service that was built to mitigate and protect against such attacks went haywire, as I said. The service was run on the Akamai network and it was called Prolexic. Akamai support suggested that companies turn off the Prolexic router and bypass it to get their services back online. CBA, Westpac, ANZ, AMP Bank, Macquarie Bank, ME Bank were some of the most hit, including Virgin Airlines in Australia, who were unable to access their IT infrastructure for around 30 minutes, which is quite concerning for an airline. Australia Post also put their hand up that their services were affected. In fact, I too had a problem. I wasn't able to get into Salesforce, so I went and got a coffee instead. Overall, 500 customers across Australia and New Zealand were affected. Now, in the post-mortem report by Akamai, links below for that, they said the issue was not caused by a system update or a cyber attack. Definitely trying not to scare people. A routing table value used by this particular service was inadvertently exceeded. The effect was an anticipated disruption of service. Maybe time to upgrade from 32-bit tables. In any case, services were restored after a few hours and all is technically well. Let me know below if you were affected by the outage. Let's move on. Telstra has gone and done another good deed. Could they be turning a corner? Well, time can only tell. A quick story. Telstra has gone ahead and upgraded 525 exchanges in rural and regional New South Wales. Not sure what the difference between rural and regional is, and at this stage I am too afraid to ask. In Telstra's announcement of said upgrades, New South Wales public schools will be some of the first locations to benefit from the upgrades, which brings significantly larger capacity and a few extra digits to their speed tests. This accounts for about 50 school upgrades per week, totaling more than 2,000 all up, and the expected improvement in bandwidth could be about 15x. Here is what Telstra's Enterprise Group Executive David Burns had to say. By boosting our regional networks, businesses and their employees can work from Grafton, for example, with the same quality of connection that they would have working from the Sydney CBD. Ultra-fast broadband means regional businesses can embrace new technologies and compete with bigger companies from the city, with capacity now to work with technologies like augmented reality, advanced analytics, and artificial intelligence. Personally, I believe that schools and universities should always have the best access to the World Wide Web, because during your adolescence, you cannot afford to pay for music, film, and TV show streaming service and you cannot miss the latest episode, iCarly. I found out today they brought that show back. What a wacky world we live in. Well done, Telstra. I may have been tough on you in the past after taking advantage of your Aboriginal customers, but now my opinion has still not changed. Let's jump into the next topic. The ACCC pricing review is in full swing, and this week we saw the first glimpse of what's to come. On Friday, the ACCC released the ACCC Industry Roundtable on regulatory arrangements under NBN Co Special Access undertaking. This roundtable is to discuss options for the regulatory arrangements for the NBN that could be established under a special access undertaking, and to the cool kids, this is known as the SAU. The roundtable will mark the start of the collaboration process between the ACCC, NBN Co, industry participants, and other key stakeholders to develop a revised long-term regulatory framework for the national broadband network. Now, the ACCC says this process will form the basis of the future variation to the SAU to be proposed by the NBN Co. The current SAU has been in place since 2013. Now, this SAU included revenue constraints, price controls, and mechanisms for the regulatory oversight to ensure the efficient use of the network, encourage certainty in retail markets, and provide protections to consumers and businesses using the NBN. Since then, the paper admits that there have been several developments that have resulted in most current NBN services operating outside of the SAU framework. Basically saying, yeah, it didn't achieve any of that. It outlines that the design of the NBN network has changed and the current SAU only applies to fiber to the premises, fixed wireless and satellite services, and does not cover the additional technologies incorporated as part of the multi-technology mix model, fiber to the node. Overall, there has been a radical market change such as consumer behavior, product availability, and significant increase in demand for data. The paper also agrees that the introduction of various discounts and bundles offers also appears to have led to increasingly complex pricing and product constraints for the NBN services, CVC, with the potential for access costs to vary considerably when the discount conditions are not satisfied, leading to price uncertainty for RSPs and higher costs or lower service quality for consumers. That's you folks. At the moment, the NBN runs on a cost recovery method, which is an accounting term where a business only records the revenue it earns from a transaction at the time that the client has paid enough of the invoice, that the business has recouped all its costs on that transaction. The current SAU causes issues around recovery. At the moment, NBN Co hits a certain number before it starts to recover their investment. This number is controlled by how much expenses NBN incurs every year, and at the moment, the current revenue does not outpace the amount and revenue recovery cannot happen. So the ACCC says that the new SAU should follow some simple rules, and they're seeking feedback from those stakeholders to try and fix these issues. Now, overall, there are two objectives: promoting competition and encouraging the efficient use of investments in infrastructure. Now, the first topic under that is price controls. The ACCC wants the following principles to be adhered to for the new SAE rules. So access arrangements should support a range of retail service offerings that represent value for different categories and end users. Access seekers should have reasonable certainty over access costs over time for a given level of quality. And then the access provider should have a reasonable opportunity, but not the guarantee to earn an appropriate return on its efficient investment and recover its efficient operating costs. Then, around revenue controls, once NBN Co pays back the $32 billion or so, the current SAU caps the revenue, and so these principles need to be adhered to. NBN Co should be able to recover efficiently incurred costs. NBN Co should face incentives for making efficient investments and have the ability to generate sufficient cash flows to support its ongoing operation and fund new investments, establishing a binding revenue constraint and treatment of accumulated losses. The report goes into detail on all of this, and my feedback after reading this super dry document is that the ACCC is certainly taking into account what is best for the project from a revenue recovery point of view, especially for the government, but also keeping pricing for customers in check. The reason I think this is because the push for incentives for the NBN when they take up network upgrades. Maybe the next round of $70 million bonuses could lead to faster network speeds. Now, if you thought that was dry, I have linked the document below. Enjoy it, have a read, it's quite interesting, and let me know what you think. Time for some quick bits. Make sure you like this video if you did, and smash the subscribe button to see more videos like this and support us. First up, Telstra has acquired MediaCloud Australia, a Perth-based web hosting provider who has services in NXDC. This will help Telstra's broadcasting arm provide new services such as managed streaming, internet delivery, media management, automated content configuration, and playout services. Head of Telstra's broadband services, Andreas Eriksson, said the addition of the MediaCloud platform will provide broadcasters with incredible flexibility to manage their content offerings through virtual environments. And finally, in more Perth news, after a partnership with NVIDIA's GeForce Game streaming service and new 5G spectrum project, Pentanet has raised $20 million to expand their 5G plans and their gaming as a streaming service for Australia. Now, Pentanet has been making a name for themselves amongst Australian gamers with esports initiatives and internet plans geared towards gamers. G4 services in Australia are really exciting and could be good timing, with many residential services getting to a point where the speeds are enough to stream live video games. And on that exciting prospect, we have to end this episode. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you like this video if you did, and if you'd like to see more content like this, then hit that subscribe button. Lastly, check out the NBN Nielsen research panel if you haven't already. Share your NBN stats and earn points to exchange into vouchers for Amazon and Bunnings and more. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye!